Hello and welcome back to OT, the podcast. We're here to talk about watches, time, how to spend it. I'm Andy Green.
I'm Felix Schultz with a little frog in my throat right on cue. How are you?
No guest this week, but this is a 200th episode. OT's 200. What a milestone.
What did Donald Bradman achieve in his career? 300?
300. So we're
Almost.
we're nearly there. 2/3, some may say, if you believe in maths, which I do.
It's been quite a journey. 200 episodes in what? 3 years?
Over we're into the
fourth year.
Into the third year.
I don't know.
Maybe the fourth. This is season 4. Yeah, this must be the 4th year.
Yeah.
Again, math.
Well, yeah, we've been plugging away. Thanks to everyone listening for making it happening, especially if you're our valued sponsors, and even more valued Discord members because you're all lovely.
Yeah, it's been buzzing lately. Actually, there's been so much news happening, which is what we're doing this week, a news episode. But there's been just so many notifications, so many different topics being discussed in the Discord. It's a fun place to be.
Yes, this is a nice segue. I had a little. A mini IRL Discord meetup at the IWC Big Pilot Roadshow in Sydney. I went up the other week. That was a very, very impressive event they put on, I believe it's Centennial Steps, sort of overlooking, the Opera House and the bridge. Then they pulled out the old imposing black shipping containers, rolled out the coffee bar and the cocktails, and had a little party, which was very, very nice. But I got to see Nick, who's in the Discord. Hi, Nick. We had a chat. We talked some stuff. We, debated the merits of pilots' watches. But yeah, it was a good time. Sorry you couldn't make it, Andy.
We keep bumping into our Discordians at various IWC events.
Maybe that's the Venn diagram. Look, I'm not going to say that Chris Granger is in our Discord, but I'm also not going to say he's not.
Yeah, he might well be in there.
Actually, it's interesting. I want to talk to you about this, the IWC, the Big Pilot thing. It was a very big sort of moment for them. Like, I suspect any outdoor advertising in Australia that sort of, certainly in Sydney, that met their, sort of target requirements was reading IWC on that weekend. They had like this boat, sort of doing tours for VIPs. They had, sort of custom cocktails. They had custom coffee. They had Illy. Was it Illy that was performing?
Illy, yeah, Australian hip hop artist.
Yeah, they had, they pulled out all the stops. There was a lot of sort of content generation happening. They sort of, obviously, flew me up and a bunch of other sort of Melbourne media types up, and all the Sydney guys were there. And it was all sort of promoting their pilots collection, which is probably the top one or top number 2 sort of collection in Australia, and globally it's pretty significant. There was no new product launch, which was interesting. It was more of a, come and learn about the brand and, talk to some people and, chat to, IWC essentially.
Well, this was the extension of it's the Roadshow, which you might see all over the world. It was in Victoria Vet Square. Was that this year or was this summer?
No, it was I want to say the year before.
Oh, it was a while ago. International logistics getting in the way of things. But they certainly turn up with the presence. It's quite... The photos looked cool. I did like the touch of the boat. That made for some nice photography as it kind of shot past the Sydney Opera House.
Yeah, it was cool. But there was also hot on the heels of that. We sort of, we didn't really talk about it I'm not sure where it sort of stands in Australia, but there's a new IWC watch that was released. It's a pilot's watch made to sort of commemorate a naval aviation squadron called the Black Aces. This was one that was hotly discussed in our Discord. The telltale feature for me of this watch is luminous dial.
Yeah, so this was a squadron watch, and the dial is part of that squadron kind of customization, or can you get the luminous dial separate?
So no, it's not a squadron watch. So, and this is a couple of sort of Air Force types and actual pilot types in the Discord,
Sure.
And this is something that I defer to them on. This was not a watch commissioned by the Black Aces squadron. There is a version that they have made, and that was probably where the...
Oh, gotcha. So it's like a Top Gun.
Yes, and they've also done it for the Blue Angels, which is a naval performance flight team, the ones that do all the flyovers over football stadiums and all that formation flying. This is sort of made to commemorate them. This was done by, you don't have to have flown a interceptor fighter or something to wear this watch. You can buy it at IWC.com. And that's part of sort of, I think, the dissonance for some people in that, is this cosplaying sort of a military association?
Mm.
And is a specific squadron different to something like a more amorphous concept like the Spitfire or,
Well, or like the Top Gun, I guess.
yeah, like, it's a movie, it's a pop culture reference, but it's also an actual sort of training school, I guess.
I'm reading a thing on the IWC Journal,
Sure.
which is on their website, and they've kind of written it in like a Q&A where the watch seems to be talking in first person, which is a little bit weird. I was engineered for the Strike Fighter Squadron VFA 41, aka the Black Aces. That's unusual.
Yeah. I also, on my Instagram, I popped a pic of it up with the Luminous style glow, which I'm pretty into. Like, I don't mind the Luminous style. Luminous style and pad printing's a challenging combination in terms of clarity and detail. But one of our former guests, Aaron, who wrote the book on corporate espionage, I think he's a former pilot. He said, "You do not want a Luminous style in the cockpit."
I guess that would, security reasons, safety reasons.
Yeah, just you don't want to be staring down at that if you're trying to focus on the.
Well, probably make it easy to spot. Get those the enemy. The enemy can probably see you.
I don't know. Anyway, I don't honestly. I don't think I don't really care. But my main, I
Don't know, don't care.
guess, I don't care. I don't think it needed the squadron
Right.
association. That's where I'm going to end on it.
Yeah, well, we'll link up this journal entry. I've never seen anything like it. Let's not dive into it.
Plug it in the notes and I'll pull it out.
People can have a read for themselves. It is a bizarre self-introduction from a watch.
I got a question for you, Andy. Well, I know we've got to move on from IWC in the pilot's world. If you woke up this morning and got yourself a ride,
Sure.
what would that mean to you?
Yes, Felix, I've been watching The Sopranos. I tried to mention it the other week. No one took the bait. So here I am using my platform. Sopranos for the first time watcher, loving it. I can see why everyone kind of raves about it as being just remarkable as far as television goes. What I'm really loving, aside from the era where it was sort of like pre too much technology,
Sure.
payphones and a little bit of mobile phones, and they get a bit more, prevalent in the later seasons. There's like some really good watch spotting in there.
Yeah, you've been sending
I
me.
sent
You've
you
been sending me the occasional like blurry screenshot saying, "What do you reckon this is?"
zero context. I don't even tell you, but what I sent you one of those rainbow.
Zenith Rainbow Chronos.
Is that what it's called?
Look, it might be a Defy. I'm not sure of that, but I think on the street in the world of Tony Soprano, it's called the Zenith Rainbow.
Yeah, I think it's just called like the El Primero Rainbow Chronograph.
Could well be.
Yeah, and it's just that funky, early 2000s, late 90s Zenith chronograph that has like a bunch of color.
Pretty obscure choice. Like that's not what you would grab. If I'm like, was this a mobster wearing it or a civilian?
Yeah, Furia. He's part of the family.
Okay. See, this is not what I'd go if I was a prop master. I wouldn't go. I need a mom watch. Let's get this fairly niche Zenith, chrono.
Yeah, who knows? At the time, so he's like the imported Italian gangster who gets added to the family briefly. So a bit of an odd choice for that one to come through. I'm pretty sure it was like a 2001, so it's probably like a pretty hot watch and luxury. And I guess the watch choices are meant to be a bit gaudy and a bit they're just a status symbol like. So obviously Tony Soprano wears a date date, sorry, a gold day date. Some of the other stuff I've seen is sort of some vintage AP. Obviously there's Cartier Pasha, which has a pretty good appearance and actually has a part of the story. It's stolen at one point.
Nice.
Yeah, but the Pasha with the grill in gold.
Oh, the full grill.
Yeah, full grill, and then the sort of whole thing about get the drug deal goes bad.
Do you reckon that was product placement? Because Cartier has always been very good at that.
Yeah, I reckon it was because it gets stolen from him, and sort of Chrissy goes back to his partner, his fiance, and talks about getting robbed, and he's like, yeah, they stole my watch, and she's like, not the Cartier, really? Like it was a big deal that it got stolen.
Yeah, I mean, Cartier's always been really strong in that space. I remember though, we should probably maybe link this up. Wasn't some of Gandolfini's watches like a date just or something auctioned off? Do you?
Yeah, I remember something, and I remember something about when he unfortunately passed away. Someone stole the watch, like one of the paramedics stole his wristwatch.
Oh, wild.
Yeah, there was a whole thing about that actually. I should dig up that for the notes as well. Hey, so the other week we were talking about TikTok.
Yes, we often talk about TikTok.
Mike Naveau.
Yes.
Was floated as a guest. We might want on.
Is this happening, Andy?
I've planted the seeds. I've messaged Cam Barr from Craft and Tailored, who happens to be Mike's employer.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so we're trying to force it in under like employee duties. Yeah, so it's in the works. Everyone's favorite Mike.
Oh,
But
fascinating.
he's coming on.
Behind the scenes of TikTok's Rich and Famous. There's other news this week, Andy. And I expect, we're recording this at the start of the week. It's going live on Friday. I expect by the time this episode goes out, there are going to be lines around Swatch boutiques around the world. Possibly because they've heard it here.
If it's not online, that is.
Yeah, it's alleged. Obviously, we're talking about Blancpain and Swatch are teaming up for a Moon Swatch-esque collaboration, dropping on the 9th.
Yep.
I don't know what that translates to in Australian time. Maybe Sunday. I don't know. We don't know anything about it. We haven't seen anything except a few sort of coy teasers. But that's never stopped us before. What do you think we're looking at here, Andy?
Yeah, so I was confused by this, the advert, and granted, I only saw sort of Hodinky repost something.
Sure.
But I did also see something that had our friend Ben Clymer chatting with Jean-Claude Biver back in the day. Like, it must be old Talking Watches, where he says Blancpain will never do a quartz movement.
Let's take it back a second. There's a few things we're going to talk about here. We'll link to an article written by the charming Mike Christensen for GQ UK. There was a full-page teaser that had like an image of, what we know now is the sort of the 50 Fathoms crown, with brand and swatch, a similar sort of thing to Moon Swatch. That's been followed up with a big image of like all the oceans of the world. With Blancpain and Swatch 9th of the 9th. It's the 70th anniversary of the 50 Fathoms. Big year for them. I would also say it's the 10th anniversary of the Swatch System 51.
Yeah, right. Wow.
So maybe Blancpain will still never do a quartz watch.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, if you read the article, read the quote from Mr. Hayek Jr., he sort of says, he alludes to the fact that, he's got a lot of young customers who can't afford 30 or 50K for a watch.
Sure.
So if he collaborates with Swatch, in the same way that he has done with Omega, they can reach more people with the name. Now, obviously, that tells you it's going to be a Swatch base, and probably that bioceramic, maybe something else. It tells you, the price point is going to be much, much lower, and it's basically going to be, using those mass manufacturing techniques for both movement and the case and everything that Swatch is so good for. I also remember how fond the Hayeks are of Swatch. Like, they love that brand. And they love, it would make them probably the most money out of the whole group, despite not being luxury. It's the volume brand where they just must churn out so much. And I always just point to in these scenarios, one of those interviews he did where he said he sold something like $300 million worth of Moon Swatches in the first 10 or 11 months. So adding another novelty string to the bow that is the.
And I think I've read this in an interview that sort of came out around Moon Swatch, like where Nick Hayek, not Mark Hayek, it's confusing these nepotism arrangements. When Nick Hayek, the sort of overall head of the Swatch Group, said that they looked at Blancpain and Omega initially, like they were the two sort of. So clearly they've, had the two options. You're not going to sort of venture into this project without looking at a few different possibilities.
Well, the dive watch would make sense because you've kind of got the sporty Moon Swatch, and then doing something creative and a bit clever with the dive watch would be.
Yeah. I mean, I suspect as well, like based on this, you're going to see 7 different versions a la the planets. You're going to have them for the different oceans. You're going to have Pacific, Atlantic, Indian, Arctic, and I don't know, whatever else there is.
Yeah. So this stuff doesn't excite me, but
it's got to be in the headline.
Well, I mean, the Moon Swatch stuff doesn't excite me, mostly because it's been a couple of years and they're still a pain to think about getting. And, I don't know how well they hold up over a lot of wear and time, but it's kind of good. Like, from a business standpoint, I think it's quite interesting. And, it could possibly breathe quite a bit of life into Blancpain, which, there's a bit of a stable of brands that, the group owns that they don't do very much with.
Yeah, need a bit of attention. Do you think, though, is it I mean, this is the question. I suspect we know the answer. Does it hurt in the long run? Does it cheapen a brand? Well, if no one knows who the brand is, I probably, any press is good press.
I
I would.
mean, you do kind of, it's sort of like you see massive fashion designers collaborate with, Target, or how Kanye did the Gap thing.
Sure.
And, even Shaquille O'Neal famously, killed his Reebok deal so that he could do like a cheaper sneaker.
Yeah, with Walmart. Yeah.
Yeah, just because there is an argument to be made about doing something that's more inclusive.
Yeah, and I think this is in a way it's a vastly different situation, because I think Amiga and Swatch, in terms of like name recognition, will probably equal. You've seen James Bond. You know
Mhm.
what Amiga is. You know what Swatch is. It's a pretty sort of ubiquitous concept. If you walked up to a handful of 20-year-olds on the street and said, "What is Blancpain?"
Yeah, they're not going to know.
Oh, maybe one might
And he,
recognise that.
well, how about this? So the thing with the Moonwatch and the Moon Swatch, right? So I think you were saying in our Discord that somewhere someone said that sales had gone up 50% on Moonwatches as a result.
Well, over the same period. I mean,
Whatever the case may be, if I look at it, I don't own a Moonwatch, but if I had a Moonswatch and I really liked it, and I was a customer for watches that are 5 to 10 to 15K, wearing it might actually make me go, you know what? I want the
real
high
deal.
quality version. Yeah,
Sure,
I've tried this
100%.
out. $400. You know what? So that could be. I mean, they make a huge amount of money on this stuff anyway. But if
Mm.
it converts, if they do similar numbers, which is millions of watches, and if they do 1 million, and 1 out of every 10,000 of them decides to buy Blancpain as a result, that would be a significant increase for
Yes.
Blancpain as far as volume goes. And that's not that many people, 1 out of 10,000.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
there's probably something to it.
Well, we'll have to wait and see. I'm sure we'll talk about it next week. Once all the dust has, maybe settled. Andy, you were gossiping to me about some excellent content on Dime Piece.
Yeah. So I don't know what happened here, but
Yeah.
maybe it's big watch brands have done something. But I saw a Dime Piece post that was Jacob Elordi wearing a Cartier, looking a lot like Brad Pitt.
Was this a fever dream?
Maybe. If anyone else saw it, I want to know, because we can't find it. It's been erased from the internet. So I don't know if I'm
Okay.
being gaslit. I don't know if I've been set up.
Or if someone at Cartier or Tag Heuer has written a polite email.
Yeah.
I've got that alleged and possibly existing Instagram post is the second most interesting timepiece content I've seen in the last week.
Yeah.
The
Okay.
most interesting is Adam Grenier, who I forgot existed for a hot second, star of hit TV show Entourage, has had a child and named that child Seiko.
Good name.
Honestly, not a terrible name.
Good name. Good name.
The immediate question
Don't hate it.
lends me to ask, Andy, what other watch brands that aren't already names, traditional names, like, Rish and Mill, would make good names for children in 2023?
So not
You can't have a person like a brand, like you can't have Rish and Mill, or I don't know,
like Franck.
your Franck Mueller or Philippe Dufour, Rolex you could have, Omega,
Hermes.
strong name.
Strong name. What else? What else? What else? I mean, your list, that's a real name.
I think twins, I'd like to see Audemars and Piguet.
What? Parmesan.
Parmigiani and Fluria.
Little Patek.
Tag. Tag is a strong name. Patek. But you just pass it on for the next generation. You'd have Patek the third, Patek the fourth.
Bell and Ross would be pretty funny.
Oh, that'd be good. Yes. Nomos.
Yeah.
Nah, not so good.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Gerard Perregaux. Actually, yeah, Glacite original. One original.
No, you have Gerard Perregaux, and then you have Seahawk or Chronohawk. I think it's model names. It's where Tudor.
Yes.
Or again, you could have two children, one named Jacob and the other one named Co.
The other three children named Co.
Oh dear.
Seiko's cool. Seiko's cool. I like that.
It kind of works. Like it doesn't it doesn't feel like a terrible brand name. You also know what they're getting for every birthday.
Yes. Well, depends on how big your wallet is.
Carrera, that's a lovely name.
I feel like that is a real name. We're talking models now, not brands, though.
Yeah, I know. Look,
What about the code 1159?
ooh, what about Acrivia?
Yes. Yeah, that's a cool name.
Speaking of,
This is not relevant.
no, this is. Look, I'm bringing it back around. I'm sure Acrivia is in there somewhere. GPHG, everyone's favourite industry plant competition. Finalists have been announced, Andy. Are you excited?
Yeah, so excited. Brands like Xrby, which is XRBY, who I'm sure you've heard of.
Oh, yeah.
Beauregard.
Jarby.
Jarby. You've got Dior Montrez, which is Christian Dior.
Yeah.
You've got lots of fashion brands in this year.
Big fashion is taking over watches.
You've got a token Beauvais, which you never really see anywhere. Artia, which is Artya.
Yes, they've been around for a while, to be fair, Artia.
Yeah.
Andy, I'm gonna sort of hedge you off at the pass here. I don't think we need to run through the entire list of 50 pay-to-play entrants into the GPHG. I'm sure there are some fine and excellent watches in there. Do we care anymore? Is it us, or I don't know? I thought a few years ago everyone seemed to have got excited about the GPHG.
Yeah, I mean, I just go to the comments section and it's pretty light on. I don't know that anyone cares that much, to be honest. There's about 20% of brands you've not really heard of. Another 20% you've kind of heard of, but you've never ever seen in real life. 30% fashion brands, and then the other percentage, I haven't done the quick maths, the other percentage are sort of brands that you legitimately should be there, but with questionable models.
Yeah, I'd say there are about, out of the 90 watches, whatever it is, I'd say there's about 15 legit bangers in there.
Yep. Yeah, I think you're being generous.
No, I mean there's some solid stuff, and I did scroll through the Hodinkee article on it, and they had a show part, and I'm like, yeah, that show part was actually really nice on the wrist. Like, it was one that I had the opportunity to try on.
Yeah, that show part is cool. This is the LUC.
No. See, this is the thing. LUC is obvious. That's a clearly great watch. The other one is the high frequency Alpine Eagle. It doesn't look like much, but it's surprisingly great.
Oh, okay.
See, and that's part of the. I think that's where there's actual merit in. Like, the other one is that Piaget that sort of looks like it's got a dial half obliterated by gold.
That's
incredible.
Cool.
You know what I mean? Like, there's some real world connoisseurship involved. That's
no. I'd say this year's better than last year, to be fair.
Fair enough. Do you know what? Also, I'm just rolling through the hits here, Andy. We've had a watch fair. We had a watch fair the other week. You might have missed it.
Oh, a bit hard with all the press releases that got sent through to us.
Geneva Watch Days. It's like the third or fourth installment of this sort of midpoint sort of showing in Geneva. It's a multi-entity thing that's sort of spearheaded, I think, significantly by the biggest names in the room are Bulgari and Breitling. Weirdly enough, Breitling has not yet released that GWD piece. Yeah, what do you think?
What do I think?
Yeah, what do you think, Andy?
Very LVMH heavy, which is to be given. The carbon gold stuff from Bulgari was pretty cool.
Again, Chris Hall in the fifth wheel, echoed it really beautifully when he's starting to talk about carbon gold iterations. Has the Octofinissimo run out of steam? Like, if that's the...
I like this. I like this more than anything they've done before.
Whoa!
Well, the carbon they sort of debuted this case, I think 2018. I think it looks quite fun. I mean, I'd hate to see the price tag, but I think it looks pretty cool. The other stuff that I like is also from Bulgari, being the Serpenti. They're doing a lot of like black and gold.
That's Sam Sparrow's coming on as an ambassador. Sam Sparrow? Don't know if that reference played. My biggest take, Andy, of Geneva Watch Days, vibe-wise, is, and this is a throwback for the good old days of Basel. If Watches and Wonders is Hall 1 at Basel, GWD is bits of the Palace and bits of Hall 2 sort of smooshed together.
Yeah, I mean, that always makes sense, right? Like, it's not brands that don't need or can't justify that huge sort of main hall presence. And these are all the brands you would see. outside of the main hall. And if you did see them in there, you'd be questioning how much money they're making to justify
Sure. Yeah.
per watch. Like Gerard Perregaux was probably in the main hall for a while, and it just it made no sense. But yeah, this is where you go and have a break from the chaos and get to see all the interesting stuff. I mean, the other thing I liked was the Chapek Place Vendome, which is sort of like a whole new complication, whole new thing for Chapek, and it looks pretty ridiculous, but it looks very, very cool.
I had two favorites. One we talked about a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
The Louis Erard X the Horophile
Mm-hmm.
trilogy of watches. Nothing particularly amazing, like 39 millimeter, Sellita powered round watches with like a sort of Art Deco vibe. Just really nice.
It is
Louis Erard does good stuff. They do good collabs. They do it well,
balanced, really nice, really simple. I know you wrote up for Revolution and about it, so we'll link that up. It's also cool. One thing I was saying to you was like the Horophile is one of like the early, like he's one of the OG Instagram watch people.
Yes. Yeah. He's like him and Anish and,
Yeah,
other
like one
people.
of the very, very first kind of watch people. So that's cool to see the limited edition 2300 Swiss francs, limited to about was 178 pieces.
Yeah, 60 per dial.
They'll sell out.
Yeah, nice. The other one I liked, and we don't need to talk about it too much, Resonance with a eucalyptus green dial, which is a very unusual but appealing hue, I thought.
That is quite nice, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just nice. Like, I mean, and that's what you're getting here at GWD. You're not getting like the main sort of top tier releases. You're getting dial variations. You're getting nice.
A lot of personality.
Yeah, it was
I
good.
really like, you know what? I hate to say it, but Jacob & Co. nearly did a kind of nice watch.
The 2-time one?
Yeah. Yeah, with the blue, with the gold map of the world.
Entry level piece, I suspect.
Probably.
Well, I mean, I don't. It's a base caliber in the back. I think it's nothing. I don't think they tapped Concepto for that one.
And you know what? Alpina also.
Andy, what's going on with you today? You've got the weirdest takes.
It's just not. Yeah, it's not bad stuff from Alpina. Like it's pretty safe. But Alpina is one of the first brands I sort of looked into when I was buying. Starting to buy watches. So I kind of have a bit of nostalgia. Yeah.
Any other GWD thoughts, Andy Green?
Will Armstrong become cool again?
Are they never not cool? I mean, I don't know. I've never understood Armstrong, to be honest. Like the aesthetic doesn't tickle my fancy, and I'm not the kind of person to be sold by that type of conceptual, theoretical watchmaking that they do.
You're on the market. Okay, what I did see that I absolutely adore, Laurent Ferrier Sport Auto 40.
That was nice.
Green dial,
Again,
orangey.
Dial variation, but nicely done.
That is a very cool watch.
Yes, interesting brand, Laurent Ferrier at the moment. There's some a lot of, I think, scaling up production, and
they're getting ready for it. They're getting ready to
well,
explode.
no, they're doing it, and word on the street challenges around it. Like, the Laurent Ferrier made today is not necessarily the same as the Laurent Ferrier made, 10 years ago.
Of yesteryear. Well, speaking of high quality timepieces, Felix, you recently got a new watch.
I did. The twin, the cousin from another family member of your Nomos Club Sport with petrol blue dial. I have acquired a Nomos Club Sport with a polar dial.
Is the Nomos's little brother, Glasute?
Actually, no, this is the third child, Neomatic. Again, strong name.
A bit too strong.
Look, I like the Matrix. I like my watches. Neomatic it is.
Tell me about this blue dial polar.
Little blue boy. Look, to be honest, I wasn't expecting to like this watch as much as I did. Full disclosure, I already have an automatic club. I've got a 40 millimeter one with a white dial. This is smaller. It's 37 mil, I believe. 200 meters water resistance, which is cool. Neomatic movement, which is cool. I opted for the visible case back so I can see it whirling around. Loom on the dial, which is actually applied quite interestingly. It's sort of, I don't need to tell you this, Andy, but I'll tell our dear listeners. It's sort of recessed into the dial. So there's sort of a sunbrush blue, and there must be sort of cutouts where the printed luminous material has been applied. And the lume's a nice blue as well, which is a good thematic fit. But the biggest thing for me about this watch is it deeply and sort of profoundly reminded me of a watch I had like more than 10 years ago now, a little 36 millimeter oyster cased Tudor with a very similar blue dial. And it was
Mm.
a little nostalgia kick for me. Again, a reminder, size doesn't matter. 37 mil, 18 millimeter strap, absolutely fine on my meat hook-esque wrists.
I will say this. I will say this. The lugs, everyone knows that. Everyone's got a club knows the lugs do run a little on the long side. So 36, it sort of wears like a 40.
No, I also immediately, decided when you get a watch, you look at it. This came on a bracelet.
Mm.
I did not have the mental or physical capacity to deal with changing links on the bracelet, so I immediately popped it on a NATO. You were shocked that I had 18 millimeter NATOs on hand.
Yes, if anyone has recommendations for 18 millimeter NATO straps, please send them through because I have a requirement for them.
Well, this one is, just cheapest NATO straps, not a sponsor. Of course, I believe our friends at Artem probably do an 18 millimeter strap, don't they, Andy?
I don't.
They
I
don't do
do
an
it
18 mil
but
NATO?
not NATO. They might do a sales mod. Yeah, not
So
yet. Need to peer pressure them. Funny that you took the bracelet off. Don't try and do it yourself. Take it down to Monards and get them to do it. I
uh,
made the mistake of taking. It was embarrassing. I took the bracelet in about 7 pieces because I
it's got, like, pin and collar, is that
got
the
pin and collar. I thought it was just pins, and once you take one out, you're sort of committed. And yeah,
I have done pin and collar before, and it was not, the proudest 45 minutes of my life.
you're shaking, you're sweating, you start to get
Scratch it?
angry.
You scratch it up?
Nah. I was just kind of like, what have I done? And then you can't wear it at all. I should just, yeah. So leave it to the professionals.
Yeah, honestly, I'm gonna leave it on the NATO because this blue dial on a sort of a mid-tan strap, I put a, lovely pic on my Instagram. It's classic Felix combo, and it's
Look,
for me, it's a go anywhere, do anything type of watch, I don't have to think about it.
you've got a type, Felix. You sent me a picture of sort of your watch collection, and it fits right in.
Yes, I have, a couple of, Nomos and a bunch of Anodanes that all have, varying color dials with a mix of Arabics and markers. It's all on sort of mid-tan straps of
Yeah.
various nylon or leather. What
Whatever you do, don't threaten Felix with a 36 millimeter sporty watch on a NATO.
I'm powerless to resist. Yeah, no, lovely watch. I should probably 4,400 Australian dollars. I'll link it up as well. Anything from you, Andrew Gron?
On the watch front,
Just in life. Got any other thoughts? Any recommendations with your? I feel like I ask you for a recommendation. We don't have a guest.
a recommendation.
See, it's hard, isn't it, Andy? Off the cuff.
What do we just put on the spot? Well, look, read books.
Okay,
I've done a few audiobooks lately,
sure.
which you've talked about. I've put the paper down. I'm picking it back up. I've bought the latest Jack Reacher novel by Lee
Nice.
Child and his son Andrew
Oh,
Child,
right.
who's his child, and I'm
Psycho Child?
he's co-authoring it, gearing up to take over the franchise from Dad.
Classic.
First one or two that they've done together are a little bit, a little bit rough, but
Yeah.
I'm just gonna keep giving him a shot. I don't know why, but I'm just happy to keep buying the books and pushing
Uh,
through. So yeah, read Felix. Get a novel.
yeah, sure.
Get a paperback.
I got a question for you.
Mhm.
Is Jack Reacher one of these sort of characters that ages or doesn't age, or is he getting older as the books go on?
No, he doesn't age. No. So it's funny because
James
like
Bond style.
yeah, because the early books are, I think the late like 88 or something was the first Reacher
Yep.
book. It could be wrong by a few years. So, pre any sort of modern technology, as you'll call it. And obviously now we've got the Amazon have done the series, and we're in 2023, mobile phones, the internet. So he does update the novels with modern technology,
Yep.
but he
But he's
doesn't
he's
age.
still a 32-year-old dude or whatever he is.
Yeah. Yeah, and he doesn't exercise, which I love. Yet he's this mountain of a man. Yeah. Also, I know we've recommended it before, but seriously, check out the TV series. It
Sure.
is really. I loved it. They've just renewed it for season 2 as well. I think they've been shooting
Or have
kind of
they?
recently.
Because, writer strikes might put a dampener on that.
Pay your writers. That's my recommendation.
Pay writers. Support the WGA. I'm still on the Baldur's Gate 3 hype train, Andy. It's coming. Nearing into the station. Toot toot.
When are you gonna do it?
It isn't out on PlayStation yet, and I don't have a PlayStation yet. So, soon. It's more, I'm slightly concerned about the dramatic dip in productivity that it would entail.
Yeah, and we can't afford that right now, can we?
It's already at dangerously low levels. Anyway, thank you everyone for listening. Thank you for making 200 episodes possible. Andy, how can people threaten us with lawsuits?
otthepodcast@gmail.com or ot.podcast on Instagram. Of course, we always link up the Discord. Get in there, have a chat to Felix and I and the rest of the gang.
Sure.
Thank you for listening. 5-star reviews. Share the podcast with your friends. And of course, stay reading books.
Hydrated.
And stay hydrated. Very important. See you next week, Felix.
See ya. Enjoy editing this, Andy.